Hi, welcome to our channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make the best German bread, also called farmer's bread or Bauernbrot. This is my favorite bread, and I've perfected it over the years to make it a little bit faster and simpler than most recipes. Here are some of the ingredients that go into the bread, and as we go along, I'll give you step by step which ingredients go where at what time. Also, we have a lot of other German and Philippine recipes that are hard to find, and that's why we're making these videos. I think you'll love every single one of them. So, without further ado, go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification button so you'll know when a new video pops up, and hit the like button. And we're open for any comments under the description. Without further ado, let's go along and start out. Okay, we're going to start out with a lightly oiled bowl around the edges and everything so nothing sticks. And I'm going to be making 4 loaves of bread instead of 1, but the ingredients I show you here in this video are for 1 loaf. Okay, let's start out with 1.5 cup of lukewarm water. Just pour it in. Go ahead and get your honey. You want to heat it up a little bit if you can to make it pour a little bit better, but we're going to use 3 tablespoons of this honey in each recipe. That's going to give the yeast something to eat and a little bit of that sweetness that it's going to need to make this bread good. You can also use molasses or corn syrup. Okay, the next one is 3/4 teaspoon of instant yeast. I get it in a jar like this instead of the packages because it goes a lot further, because I make quite a few of these breads. So let's go ahead and put 3/4 teaspoon yeast in it. Then we're gonna take our Schneebesen, or mixing thing, whatever you call it. Mix it up real lightly. Don't get too aggressive with it because you don't want to, kill the yeast. If you don't know it or not, yeast is a living organism. So let's just do that. Now we're going to add 3 cups of flour, just any all-purpose flour, leveled. As you can see with the knife, I'm leveling it. So 3/4 cup. We're going to put that in it. This is going to be our starter, by the way. Then you're going to get your rye flour, 3/4 cup of rye flour. We're going to level it off too. We're going to add it to it. And then we're going to take our mixing thing, or whatever you call it. In German it's called a Schneebesen. And we're going to stir this up a little bit so it ain't real chunky and everything. Stir it up or mix it up. You don't want no bunch of big chunks in it, so you want to stir it up till it's not chunky anymore. And then once you're done, you want to get the stuff off the sides so it doesn't dry. It makes it harder to clean the bowl. But as we go along, you'll see that I oil the bowl constantly. Let's go ahead and get this done, and then we'll get to our next step, which is going to be the rest of the ingredients. Once we get this real stirred, mixed up real good and kind of fine with no big chunks. Okay, let's go to the next step. Okay, we're good with that now. Now, as you can see, I've already did all 4 of them. Like I said, I'm making 4 instead of 1. The ingredients is for 1 that I'm showing in this video. Now get your little plastic thing. This is how I like to do it. You don't have to do it like this, but I like to mix it up. You don't want to mix it up in your starter. You want to mix it up maybe in a bowl or something else, but I use this container because I can mix it real good. You'll see that as we go. And then pour it in the middle. You don't want to stir it up in your starter stuff. You want to give it room to ferment. Okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to adjust this, put in our flour, which is going to be 3 cups of all-purpose flour. There we go, 3 cups. Then we're going to add our yeast, our dry yeast again, or instant yeast. With the yeast, I use a 1/4 teaspoon, but it calls for 3/4. I don't have a 3/4 teaspoon. So I put 3/4 teaspoons, which equals out to 3/4 teaspoons. Then we're going to add, which I love. You don't need this, but this is what makes it for me, is the caraway seeds. They're just give this thing the ultimate flavor, in my opinion. You can try it with other seeds too, you know, sesame seeds or whatever, or none at all, whatever you prefer. But I prefer the caraway seeds. They give it that authentic Bavarian bread flavor. Now for this, I'm going to get 2 full, meaning like a little bit of heel on it, tablespoons of this caraway seeds. Nice, 2 nice full ones. That's the way I like it. Then the next ingredients is going to be the salt, because everything needs a little bit of salt. Now don't over salt this, because you can ruin it. I've done it before where you use 2 teaspoons of salt, and it just overpowered it and really destroyed it. The recipe calls for 1.5 teaspoons of salt, but I use 1.25 teaspoons of salt, and I think that's just about where it needs to be without destroying it and making it over salty, because I'm not a kind of salt guy. So let's do with that. Now we're going to put our lid on here, and we're going to shake and bake this bad boy. We're not going to bake it, but let's shake it up real good. There you go. It's quick. Instead of stirring it, use another bowl. Just shake it up there. Then we're going to take it. Let me adjust this camera. Get it right so you can see what we're doing. Okay, now we're just going to take it. We're going to pour it right in the middle without disturbing the sides. Try not to splatter it everywhere. Just pour it right down in the middle. That way you got some of the sides there that are open so it can breathe and ferment a lot better. Then you're going to take your dish towel. I like to use my old thin dish towels. I've had these since I came back from Germany 14 years ago. They're perfect. They're real thin. They let a lot of air in. And you want to put these in a room temperature, quiet, dark area where it can be left alone at room temperature. Now, if your room's freezing, that's not a good idea. So let's say about 70 degrees. I'm here in Alabama, so let's let that sit and let it stand and ferment for 24 hours. And I'll get back to you after 24 hours, okay? Okay, we're back now. It's been about 24 hours. It's fermented. As you can see, it's kind of dry on the edges, and it's fermented quite well. Sometimes it'll ferment better than other times, but this is about what it's going to look like. And it smells like almost like beer. Strong taste, smell of beer. That's my opinion of what it smells like. And now what you want to do is take your bowl. I use a mixer, a dough mixer. You can do it by hand, but I use a dough mixer. It just seems faster while it mixes. I wash my bowls for the next process, but don't forget to oil that bowl. You see how that bowl's all got so much residue on it? That's why you're going to use oil on the edges and at the bottom. So when you wash this out and clean it, because you need to clean it to put the dough back in once we get it mixed up and stuff and into a dough, and that doesn't stick to it. So I'm going to put this in the sink, Let water run over it while I set up my my machine. Okay, I'm going to use this here, put some lukewarm water in it, put my spatula in it. So if I need a little bit of water when I'm mixing this, if it's kind of dry, if the dough's kind of dry, I'll add a little bit of water from that. Now we're going to put this bad boy in here. By the way, we're going to run this at the slowest temperature, the slowest speed, excuse me, slowest speed. And this thing's a lifesaver. If you can dough it up by hand by mixing it all, with a spoon or something in your bowl, but it just takes so much longer. Let's go ahead and get the oil. You want 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. You want to put that in there. That's not including the oil that you put around the edges to keep it from sticking. Put it on number 1 and let that bad boy go. Okay, now I jumped ahead, and as you can see, this is what it turns out to be. Now just to let you know, it ran for about 5 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes. And the next, don't forget now, after you clean your bowl, to oil it down nice. Sides and the bottom. You can put a little bit more oil in the bottom. Now we're going to come out to a flat surface, a nice clean flat surface. We're going to take some flour and rub it all in our hands so it don't stick to our hands. Put some down on the flat surface because we're going to dough it up now. Excuse me, after it ran in the machine for a while. Okay, let's go ahead and get our bowl with our dough in it. We're going to pull it out. When you pull it out, it shouldn't stick too much in the bottom. Then you got it just about right. As you can see here, I'm doughing it up. If your hands are doughed up real good, it won't stick to your hands. If it does, if it's real sticky, then you want to add a little bit more flour on your table. Just add it to your table and roll it around. Excuse me. Now I'm going to dough it up a little bit and get it all worked up. Let me turn the light on here so you can see a little better. Okay. Now it's starting to stick to my table a little bit, but that's okay. If it sticks to your table a little bit, put you down. Look at the consistency of this. This is what I want to show you. See how that is? It's not real dry and it's not real wet. It's nice and doughy, almost at the point of cracking. See? That's about what it is. After you do this a couple times, you'll get the hang of it. Now what you want to do is you want to dough this up in a ball without getting any kind of slits in it. You want a nice little ball made out of it without any kind of cracks or lines in it. So I just dough this up real good and roll it up, then you spin it around. I like to slam it down sometimes, and then I just spin it around with your hands underneath, kind of turn it and shove your palm of your hands up under it. That'll make a nice little ball. There we go. That's our ball. Now let's get our pre-oiled bowl out, rub it around in there a little bit, get some oil on it. And the other side after you flip it, and she's ready to cover up again. Now we're going to get our towel and we're going to cover it up and let it rise for another 2 hours. Okay, so I'll get back with you. Okay, before we go to our next step, you need to get something made out of metal or aluminum or something that you can lay in the bottom of your oven that doesn't catch on fire or melt. This is where we're going to put our ice in there to get our steam. I got this little frying pan years ago, and it's cast iron, and I use it strictly for that because it fits down in the burner real good, and that's what's going to make this bread crispy. This is what you cannot skip. Okay, here's my oven. I'm going to show you how I set it up. What I do is I put it in the bottom, very bottom, right down by the burner. You'll see that. Let me see here if I can do this. Alrighty. See, it's right in between my burner there. It fits right up under my burner. It's not going to catch on fire. It's not hurting anything. And I'll be able to put my ice in it. Now I'm gonna take that bottom rack out. If you're only making one bread, you don't want to go to the bottom rack. You want to go with your rack maybe to the second step up from the bottom, because you'll burn the bottom of the bread. Okay, let me show you also what I use to make my bread, because I make so much of it, so I invested a little bit to do it right. These are the bread baskets. These are what I use on my when I let it rise a little bit longer to get my shape I need and everything. I love these things. I'm gonna leave a link to all the supplies that I use at the bottom of the description, so if you want to get them, you'll be able to see where I got them from. But I got 4 of these in the long. You can get them in round, or you can use a cast iron skillet too, or a baking pan if you like. But I like these long ones because I get more slices of bread out of it than I do with the round one. Go ahead and put some flour in there and shake it around, get the edges good. Now we're going to take the fermented, the risen loaf out. That's after 2 hours. It's looking really good. It's rised up real good. It's looking good. Now we're going to take it out, put it on a lightly floured countertop again. And now all we're going to do is fold this over about 3 or 4 times. We're not going to go crazy with this. All you want to do is lightly fold it over. It's a little bit wet still, so I'm going to add a little bit more flour. That's feeling pretty good there. It's not sticking to the table or to my hand, and it's not real wet. So now I'm going to smooth it out. See these little gaps here? You don't want that. If you make them round, make it round. Don't get no gaps or no slices or whatever you want to call them. You want it nice and uniform. Otherwise, it'll split open when it bakes. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to roll it up a couple more times, get it nice and uniform. That's how you make the ball if you need it. See how I'm tucking it under if you need it as a ball or round bread. But I'm just going to go ahead and do it my way. Normally you don't need it up this much, but I'm just doing this just for the purpose of the video. Let's go ahead and get this thing done right. That's about the length I need. Now I'm going to get my bread basket, my dough basket, or whatever you call it. We'll put it in there. Looks good. It's a little bit long, but just shove it in there real good. Tap it down a little bit. And then all we do is put a little flour on top, lightly cover it so it don't stick to your pan. And then I take this aluminum pan is what I use. Big aluminum pan. I can get 2 of these breads on one aluminum pan. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip it over and leave the basket on it. You don't have to cover it no more. And then we're going to put these in our little cubby hole and let them rise again for another hour. So let these rise for another hour. I know it seems like a long time and everything, but this is just how it goes. We're going to let these rise for another hour in our dark room temperature area, and we'll be ready for the next step. Okay, now while this is rising for that hour, the last 15 minutes or 45 minutes in, you want to go ahead and set your oven for 450 degrees or 232 degrees Celsius. Now I take this little shish kebab rod, which I do every time, and I poke holes in the dough before I put it in the oven. You'll see that later in the video. Now you can also take the razor knife, which a lot of people do. Take a razor knife or a sharp knife, and they make slices in the bread. Now I don't like to make the slices because I don't get as much crispy bread out of it, and it spreads open too much when it's got that much of a gap in it. I prefer my rod, a poke rod. That's all just, from experience. You don't have to do it that way, but that's just the way I do it. Now, if you make a round bread, it's probably better to slice it. Then take 1 egg per bread and a little bit of pepper. You don't have to have the pepper, but I like a little bit of pepper in it. We're going to stir this egg up a little bit. This is going to go on top of the bread after it has risen for the last time. Right before we put it in the oven is what we're going to do with this stuff. So we want to get it ready. Just stir it up real good. And we'll be ready for the next stage when that stuff is ready. Okay? I hope you're following along. And here's also the little brush that I'm going to use for the egg. And I'll see you in just a minute. Okay, I got the bread out. It's been an hour. My oven's preheated at 450 degrees. And now what we need to do is we're going to have to be fast at this so the bread doesn't collapse as we're getting it ready to put it in the oven. It tends to want to collapse a little bit. So we're going to get our eggs ready, and let's not forget our ice, which is of course one of the most important parts of this recipe. Where's my cup at? Okay, I get about 2 cups of ice, and I got it ready. Don't get that ice ready too soon. Now, you want to go fast. Oven's ready. Let's get our brush out, our poker out. I'm poking holes in this one. I just poke holes all in it. Then I'm going to take the razor knife in the other one, and I'm going to slice this bad boy in 2 different directions. Then I'm going to take my egg, and I'm going to brush it all over it until there's no white left, no flour. I want to cover the whole thing. Don't pour it on there, but brush it on until it's got the entire bread covered. You'll see as you go, if you're too slow, the bread will start to collapse, and that's not a good thing. But if you move fast, you'll be okay. Let's brush that on. And just as fast as we got this bad boy ready, we're going to put her back in the oven. Now, don't forget that ice. That's very important. Okay, let's take our 2 cups of ice real quick. You got to be fast with this. And put it in the pan. I need to pull my pan out a little bit, my little frying pan. There we go. And close it up right away and let it steam. Now set your oven temperature and make sure it's at 350. Set the timer for 15 minutes. Make sure you put it on 15 minutes at 450 degrees. I hope you preheated that oven. Now it's just a waiting game. See you in a few, and I'll show you what's next. Okay, well, you got a little bit of time. Check out our other recipes. We got some killer recipes. All kinds of German specialties and Philippine specialties. You really love them. Check out our channel. Okay, after that 15 minutes, we want to reduce the heat to 400 degrees after your 15 minutes of 450. Make sure you keep that time in, and we're going to let that bake for about 60 minutes. I go about 52 minutes. Every oven's a little different, but 60 minutes won't hurt. Okay, and then we'll see you when the bread's done. Okay, now it's a couple minutes before that hour's up. I got my heat racks, and we're ready to go. I'm going to open up the oven. I'm going to put on my gloves. Make sure you put on some kind of gloves or get something, because these bad boys are hot. They will burn you. I'm going to take my pan out, put my gloves on, take my pan out, put it on top of the stove, and here's one. Here's the one we sliced. See how it's not as crispy on top? It's got the spreaded gaps. And then here's the other one that I do. I just got a little bitty gap and holes poked in, and you got a lot more crust on it, because I love that crust when it comes to this bread. Here, let's check out this one with the slices. Here's another way that you can tell if the bread is done, is by, let me take my glove off here. by tapping the bottom. Let's try this other one. Okay. Sounds real good. Those are done. Okay, after this bread's done, what you want to do is let it rest till it cools off. I'll let it sit overnight. I usually make this in the afternoon, so like right now it's like 10 o'clock at night. So I'm gonna let it rest till tomorrow, and then I'm gonna slice it up. If you cut it now, when it's warm, it's really kind of moist and stuff, and it just don't taste the same. It's the best way to do it is to let it sit overnight or for a couple hours to cool off. Now you can also take a thermostat, a thermometer, and shove it in there, and you are looking at 190 degrees, 190 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the temperature you're looking for to be done. Anything over that. Okay, mine are at like 198, and this one's at like 209, which is perfect. But the thump thing works pretty good. I hardly ever use this, but this is just to use for the video. Okay? All right, we'll see you in the morning. All right, we're back. Here's the sliced bread. I got my bread slicer. I'm gonna cut this up, slices, and let you check it out and give it a taste test. This is one of my favorite parts. It's the taste test. You see that? That's looking good. I don't know if you can see this real good. Let me get a little closer. I hope it's okay. That looks good. And it smells good too. All I do is put a little bit of butter on that bad boy. And then I give it, oh my God. Oh my God. I'm telling you, if you like German bread, this is the hit. I mean, this is the ticket, son. Every time I make it, I love it. Alrighty. I already took off the front part of it, the hard part. Man, I can eat this stuff all day long. Just with butter. Put a little cheese on it, or some leberkäse, or some leberwurst. Oh, some liverwurst. Man, I can't tell you how good this is. I've tried and tried different recipes, and this one is by far the best one. I hope you like it too, because I put a lot of effort in this to fine tune this and get it perfected. So I hope you like it as much as I do. Okay, guys, that's about it. We're done here. Now, if you like this, please leave a message down at the bottom in the description and tell us how you liked it. If you need any of the supplies and stuff, I got it all down at the bottom. So if you want to purchase it, I really enjoy this. Y'all coming by and checking us out. We got a lot more to show, so don't forget to please subscribe. Hit the notification button so you can see some more. And hit the like button. Y'all have a good day. Dankeschön. And we'll see you later. Auf Wiedersehen. Macht's gut. Tschüss.